am so excited to have our first guest, Renee King-Sonnen. She is an amazing woman. I've seen her speak a couple times at different events. We sat on a panel together recently in, where were we, Texas? No. Arizona, or somewhere. And she has an amazing story to tell, and I'm so excited to have her here today. She was born and raised in Houston, Texas. She's the founder of Rowdy Girl Sanctuary. Renee and her husband, Tommy, owned a cattle ranch in Arlington, Texas. She fell in love with the farmed animals on the ranch, but after witnessing time and again the babies, and the animals going off to the sale barn, she became distraught and at the inherent cruelty of the business, and she went vegan. She began to pursue her dream of opening a farm animal sanctuary, and as a result of this amazing transformation, she's been seen all over the U.S. on CBS, ABC, all the big networks. She has interviews, it seems like, all the time, weekly. It's just amazing how much wonderful attention has come to her story. And on top of that, she does this incredible thing called the Rancher Advocacy Program. And that's where she is reaching out to ranchers, and ranchers are reaching out to her, wanting to transition their land, their business to a more compassionate use, whether it be raising plants instead of animals or other use for their business instead of animal agriculture. So it's just such important work, and we are so excited to have Renee here today. Please welcome Renee King-Sonnen.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay in the back? Are y'all good? All right. Well, welcome to the Conscious Eating Conference. I'm so excited to be here. It's always exciting to come and speak anytime I can represent the voices of the animals that have no way to say what they need to say and do what they need to do. We all need to be active, in my opinion, and do whatever we can for these animals, because we are truly running out of time. And I believe that with everything in me. And with that, how many of you are vegan? Look at the room, look around. Wow. And if you're not, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand, but if you're not, what I want you to do today is just suspend any notion of what you think you know. Because when cattle ranchers go vegan in Texas, I know you can too. All right. All right. So let me see. Whoops. Okay. So the red trailer. So, my very first experience with the cattle ranch that really, really knocked me out. And I'm going to be telling my whole story, but I want you to understand that the red trailer for me was the icon. It was the catalyst that showed me that we were imprisoning, that we were enslaving, that we were torturing beings. I'm born and raised in Texas. I had a collection of leather boots, went to the rodeo, Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo every year. I did barbecue cook-offs, chili cook-offs. I was that girl. And when me and my husband married for the second time, and I moved to Angleton, it's Angleton, Texas. When I moved there, I was not impressed. I'm from the city. I was one of those city slicker cowgirls, and I really wasn't impressed with the mud and all this, and especially with whenever this red trailer came out and he started loading up all these babies and taking them to the sale barn. I just didn't want to participate in that. I thought it was, I was eating meat, but I still thought it was crazy. I didn't like it. The red trailer would be loaded up. I would freak out. And I wrote this song as a result of going vegan. This footage I'm going to show you was before my husband went vegan. It was before we funded the fundraiser, because what I did is whenever I went vegan in October of 2014, on Halloween, at my mother-in-law's house, when she was serving beef stew, in front of everyone. I had been lamenting over this decision. I didn't even know I was transitioning, but I had been lamenting and going crazy and torturing myself. Literally, I thought I was losing my mind being married to a cattle rancher and having these feelings for cows. I had seen Melanie Joy, the dissertation on carnism. Have you seen it? You know, the beef stew story? Well, I went to my mother-in-law. She's serving beef stew. The family's there. They're having a good time. All of a sudden, my ears started ringing. I started buzzing. She brings this beef stew out, and I just said out loud to the air, I can't eat that. And my mother-in-law looked at me and said, why not, Renee? I said, because it's got floating, dead, hacked up animal bodies in it. Everybody in the room, it was loud, stopped talking. They looked at me, and they were like, what did you say? I said, it's got floating, dead, hacked up animal bodies in it. And my mother-in-law said, well, Renee, you can pick it out. The room was silent. And I said, no, ma'am, there's no more picking it out for me. That was the moment I know I crossed over. But let me tell you, for years, I'm 61, just turned 61 the other day. For years, I knew it was, I'm that person that didn't want to go beyond that veil. I'm that person that didn't want to watch those slaughterhouse videos. I'm that person that loved animals and killed them. So many ranchers are just like us. They really love animals and kill them. So when I finally went, because in their mind they do, who are we to tell them they don't? We have to be able to have conversations with them. And so I, in my 61 years old body, am doing any and everything I can to spread the message that we must change, especially cattle ranchers, chicken farmers, pig farmers, goat farmers. We must start having conversations that reflect a different concept. Animal farming is no longer acceptable. And see, that's the messaging that I give everywhere I go. And because we used to farm animals, people listen. Sometimes your typical vegans just can't be heard because they're pissed off and angry at cattle ranchers. Understandably so. But it's not going to change them. The anger doesn't change them. The conversations change them. When we sit in people's homes, cattle ranchers' homes, they're not vegan yet. I went to pick up honey, pregnant honey and ginger not too long ago from a cattle farmer in Huntsville, Texas. Ryuji was with me. And we had conversations with that family that was not vegan, but thinking about different ways to, be better and more healthy. They even had, silk creamer. And we were sitting in their house. And this is a rancher that was a Democrat and just was so vocal about hating Trump. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? Here in Huntsville, Texas, this guy was a diehard. You can hear all about his story. We got a 3-part series on our Two Rowdy Vegans podcast. And so if you look that up, you can hear all about this conversation that we are having with farmers. Okay? This cattle rancher now and his family are ready to explore another way to live. Okay? So, but I want to right now just say a big thank you. I always say a big thank you to Howard Lyman. Always. Howard was the man that I finally spoke to on Christmas Eve, 2014. I had been vegan a couple of months. Me and my husband were on the brink of divorce. And it was not happy in my home. I was hanging out with the cows all day. I only came in to sleep. Literally, I became one of the herd of the cows. I just got me a tattoo recently. It says Cow Mama there. It's true. I love being with the cows. There's no place I'd rather be than on the ground with the cow's head in my lap, with its neck stretched out and loving that cow. There's nothing to me that is more sacred, that is more beautiful, that has more meaning to lie on a pasture with cows that we used to send to the sale barn. The feeling I have for these animals cannot even be described. And so Howard Lyman, because he was a big, cattle farmer and he had a big operation, Not like me and Tommy, but he was the only person I knew to talk to. So I reached out to him over and over and over. He never called me back. He never emailed me back. I was like, what is wrong with him? He won't call me back. Who am I going to talk to? My husband's going to send all these cows to slaughter, and what am I going to do? And, finally on Christmas Eve, he answers the phone. And those of you that know Mr. Lyman know his voice. He went, hello? And I said, Mr. Lyman! I said, this must be Renee. How did you know? He said, well, you've called me a few times. Your number, I'm remembering your phone number now. I figured I'd better talk to you. And so I ran to the back bedroom and cussed my husband out, 100%, told him how terrible my husband was, how horrible he was. He was a murderer, blah, 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 blah. And he had cow heads all over, not cow heads, but deer heads all over our house, and elk, and I couldn't stand being in my house. And I went on and on and on and on and on. He said, are you through? I said, yes, sir. He said, well, don't you think, Renee, that you ought to give the same compassion to your husband that you're giving to those cows? I could have been knocked over when he said that. I was not expecting him to say that to me. I was expecting him to say, that's sorry, you know what, and side with me and say, you need to, whatever. I didn't know what he was going to tell me to do, but I didn't expect that. And so when he told me that, I said, what do you mean? He said, Renee, you're not going to reach your husband by calling him a murderer. Oh, really? So what am I supposed to do? He said, why don't you go in there and give him a big hug and tell him you love him? And invite him to share the food you're eating. Invite him into your world. Show him by your own actions. And anyway, the conversation ensued. It went on and on. Mr. Lyman today is one of my very, very dearest mentors. He's on my speed dial. I call him anytime I need to talk, and he calls me Rowdy. Hey, Rowdy, or howdy, Rowdy. And so anyway, I always got to say a big thank you to Howard Lyman for saving, literally, my marriage. All right, so the Rowdy Girl story. How many of you know our story? Oh, we have people that don't know the story. Cool. Okay, well, I'm going to share with you the story. This was on ABC. It was on national TV recently. This is one of our most recent ones. We've been on CBS Evening News. We've been on many national networks. I was not prepared for that, but hey, whatever it takes for these animals. I'm willing to go ice skate for these animals if that's what it takes, I don't know, whatever it takes. But here is the story as was told on Mooring Common.
If you'd asked me if I was ever going to be vegan, I'd have told you were crazy.
I'm Renee King-Sonnen. My husband was a multi-generational cattle rancher until I convinced him to turn this place into a vegan farm sanctuary.
This is the life of a cowboy, huh?
That's Penny Lane.
A little Vito's love here, huh?
The sassy one is Rue over there. This is Baby Goat. She was rescued right out of a Houston slaughterhouse. That's Sunrise. That's Lulu. That's Dominique. Everybody here has a name and a medical file. Did you lay an egg? Here we are.
Tell me a little bit about your love story.
For the cows? No, I'm kidding.
She was singing in a bar. She had a firm rule. She would never date anybody in the crowd. Supposedly, I was the first.
And I came up to him and I was like, I'm crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy for feeling so blue.
In 2010, got married. She wanted me to move to Houston, and I wanted to stay right here. We compromised, and she came here. But as soon as I started selling cows, she didn't like it.
He wanted you to be a cattle farmer.
Yes, a rancher's wife, a good rancher's wife. And I was very, very obstinate and resistant. So he told me about these babies that needed a mama. Rowdy Girl, I fed her twice a day, every day for months. She was the reason I began to see all those cows as beings and not things and not food. This is what we call the red trailer. This is what we used to transport all the baby calves in when we would take them to the sale barn. The mothers would follow it all the way up our fence line crying for their babies. This red trailer holds a lot of memories for a lot of different animals that went to the sale barn. And no more red trailer.
She went vegan, and I wasn't happy about it.
I always loved my husband, but there was a point in time when I absolutely couldn't stand him. I couldn't stand what he represented. We thought nothing would shake our marriage. And me going vegan was threatening the very core of who we were as a married couple. You know, when you're at a place where you're calling your own husband a murderer and you believe it, and he's having to hear that, it just was shattering him.
We had a knockdown, drag out when I was trying to sell calves, and I was trying to load them up.
Well, not on my watch. You take those babies up to the sale barn one more time, I will follow it. I will get in my car, I'll drive all the way to the sale barn, I'll buy every one of them cows back and bring them all back home. Well, if you're going to sell the whole herd, why don't you sell them to me?
After she started collecting this money and we made this deal, I figured it'd all fall apart.
And in less than 4 months, I bought my husband's cows. I raised $36,000. And every second along the way, he was like more and more open, more aware, more convinced.
We're in the heart of cattle country, and you became a vegan?
Veganism was shoved down my throat, but I'm glad I did it. I'm healthier, I'm more enlightened on what we're doing to the earth, and the animals don't have to suffer either.
They all have a story. He was rescued from slaughter.
This is Panda. She was born here. Our mission really isn't to save cows, it's to educate people.
But mine is to save cows too.
Oh, absolutely.
I want to save all of them. Us starting the first vegan farm sanctuary ever has drawn a lot of attention to us. People in animal agriculture saw our story, and we weren't your typical card-carrying, poster-carrying vegan. We were former ranchers, and we look like ranchers, we talk like ranchers. What we're doing is offering them ways to transition. It's so good to meet y'all. You can actually start using the land, you know, to supply solar, to supply wind energy.
So people are coming from all over the country to be on this farm and learn what you're doing?
You know, one day I woke up and I said, you know, I'm not just an animal advocate, I'm a rancher's advocate. It's like we were a beacon, like this light that just went straight up, you know, and everybody from all around that was vegan or thinking about vegan could see us.
And you love Renee?
Oh yeah. She's an incredible woman. She's a strong woman. She doesn't let anything get in her way, including me.
Now when I see my husband, who he really is, the man that's always been there, and the man that's in every rancher. The man that's in every rancher is my husband. Now, maybe not all of them. There may be some real assholes out there. I'm sure there are. But there's so many of them that I know, that I've met, that are so wonderful. They're just great people. So, you know, let me see if I can get back to, what's not that? You don't care about that. I know that. Okay, let's see. Okay, our story. All right, some of our residents. Let's talk about some of our residents, okay? Today we have 124 Rowdy residents. We started out with 29 cows and a few chickens. And now we have over 124. Soon we'll be moving up towards Austin. We've been in a floodplain, and we had a 100-year flood in 2016, a 500-year flood in 2017. And unless I'm meant to build an ark, I'm not doing that again. And so we are, in fact, my husband right now is looking at more property. We've got some deals on the table right now, and we're hoping to move, hopefully, by April or May. But here's some of our rowdy folks, and this is just a real quick clip. That's Pepper, Gizmo, Cinnamon, Rue, Penny, and Goofy. There's Murray and Surprise. Rowdy Girl and Surprise. Oh, I love Pig Rub. There's Ivy. I know, I love you, Pepper. Gizzy. I love that. Totally forgot of our animals. I thought it would be kind of cool just to show you in person who some of them were. As long as that doesn't show. Okay. How many of you have animals at a sanctuary somewhere? Awesome. Hi, Linda. It's so good to see you. Oh, my God. So y'all have animals? So you know that once you start getting these relationships with animals, like that you used to eat, or at least for me, I just can't believe how much, how deep the love can go. It's, especially when it came to chickens. I mean, I was that girl that loved Chick-fil-A, for God's sakes, I was that girl that loved eggs, and I didn't understand why it was wrong to eat the eggs out of my own chickens, that laid the eggs just for me. And I started, doing all this research, and I discovered that any use of animal products at all whatsoever was not cool. It would be like me, you have to excuse me because I'm from Texas and I'm kind of blunt, but it would be like me, having a period and somebody coming in the middle of the night stealing it and scrambling it for breakfast. I mean, I finally saw this, y'all, and when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, and what about if they ate it sunny side the heck up? I know it's not really and truly a period. I mean, people always say, yeah, it isn't a period if you don't know. But, it's the closest thing I know of. And, and I really began to see, and watch how these eggs are made and how they come down and how nurturing that the chickens are around their eggs and how they want to protect their eggs and they want to sit and brood. And, I began to study chickens from a whole different perspective, and I just fell in love with chickens. I just fell in love. Let me just go to this one. Because chickens, to me, I mean, this is some of our rowdy girls right there, and one of our guys right there. This is some of the rowdy girls. We have like about 32 chickens and 6 roosters at Rowdy Girl Sanctuary. And I didn't think I'd ever have a rooster. I didn't know how I could ever take care of a rooster. I just thought, oh my God. But we love our roosters. We've learned to take care of roosters. We've learned to integrate families. We've learned to, switch flocks and give them ample time and room. We've learned to take care of their every need. It's so awesome to be able to care for these animals and to watch them and study them and figure out what is it they need now. It's never enough for me to say, okay, they're done. I am constantly looking on ways to enrich the lives of the animals that we care for. It's my duty. I want to do it. And then we rescued these guys. Did y'all hear about the Colorado chickens recently? Those 36,000 chickens that were left to die? 36,000 chickens in Colorado left to die. Farmer went bankrupt. We get calls. They wanted us to take, technically we were at capacity, but we figured this out because the need was so great. And we took 15 of these chickens. And y'all, at least 34,000 of these chickens were killed, died. And so these 15 are a miracle. Just a miracle. Yeah. The Families Choosing Compassion program. All right, so we have 2 programs, the Rancher Advocacy Program and Families Choosing Compassion. Our Families Choosing Compassion program is all about educating families that are in FFA and 4-H. So we do that a lot. We have families that contact us weekly, about the animals that they are taking care of in their project, their project animals in school, and they fall in love with these animals, and they don't want to see them go to sale barn. Really? I'm like, when they call, I'm like, really? Well, then why are you doing this? I'll ask them, then why are you, well, I love animals, and, I want to take care of animals. I said, so do you think that taking care of animals ends, at the sale barn? Do you think that sending them to slaughter is taking care of them? Is that your idea of care? I ask the question. I don't tell them they're bad people. They'll get real quiet. Well, I don't want them to go to the sale barn. That's why I'm calling you. I said, but I want you to answer my question. Is taking these animals that you love, that you care for, that you groomed, that you've named, is it okay to send them to the sale barn? Is that part of your care? And they're like, well, you're making me feel bad. I'm like, well, good. Good. Then what's happening is you're thinking about it. And somehow along the way in FFA and 4-H, they program these kids not to think about that, not to talk about it, not to think about it, never think about it, never talk about it. This is your mission. This is what you're doing. And we got to change this, folks. I mean, FFA and 4-H are raising ranchers. This is where it starts. So we got to get in the system. And we do have a legal team now that is also pro bono working with us to help. And I would love to show you one of our sweet girls that's in our program.
When I saw Gizmo, I didn't see somebody who wanted to be whipped. I saw someone who wanted to be loved. He loved being loved. Even though I knew there wasn't a lot of places I could go with this idea of, hey, I want to save my pig, and hey, I love him, I knew it had to be done, and I wasn't going to give up, and I'm so glad I didn't. Giving that away to somebody who was just going to kill him, not even look at him, just to see who he was. I wouldn't have let Gizmo gone through just being another meaningless life, just being slaughtered. He means so much, and so much to give. He has a personality. Losing Gizmo would have been losing another friend, and I mean, if you lost a friend, you know how that feels. And you don't want to go through that. There's another side to this. There's something more than just looking at something and just seeing food and just killing a life for no reason. I mean, we don't need that. Honestly, I would just ask people to follow their hearts, because I know that people know this isn't right. I know that they see things in these animals, and we love our cats and we love our dogs and all of our pets, but there's a line drawn when the animals aren't cute or cuddly to us. People know this is right. They know, and it causes people to turn their heads because, yeah, it's hard and you go through stuff and you feel things that you might not want to feel, but it changes you for the better. This life he's living is what he deserves, what all these animals deserve. If I could tell Gizmo one thing, it would be, I love him. And I mean, he already knows that. He knows how much I love him from every day I see him when I come once a week. And he knows from the belly rubs I give him and every time I pet him or touch his snout, do what he does. And I mean, I wouldn't want Gizmo to know this hard fight I put up for him, because this happiness is simply just what he deserves. I never expected all of this to come from just me loving my pig.
Elena was 14 when I first met her. Her whole family got involved in our program. They used to come every week. They'd moved to Austin, so she's so excited that we're moving out that way. But they engaged the program like I've never seen. I mean, it was amazing to watch. She became vegan. Her mom is vegan. Her sister is vegan. And they divorced the husband. Hey, I mean, families are changing. It's happening. We also rescue animals from all sorts of neglect. There's several cases that we've had from backyard slaughterhouses. Dee Dee and Dexter, that's the two black goats there. They were left under some old oil pipes with their umbilical cord still attached to them, just left to die. They're just doing great now. And Thomas is the one in the middle getting his first bath. Yeah, he's the one with the horns right there. He was getting his very first bath. He was going to be a family dinner. And then the Florida SPCA group was all rescued from backyard slaughterhouses, severe neglect. So, that's another part of the population that we rescue. And I want to just take a minute to say that my husband the former cattle rancher. This is him taking care of Muley. Muley was going to die. Muley was going to drown in this pond. Muley is 21 years old now. 21. Our oldest cow was Spot. She died last year. She was 23. Muley has got a real severe problem called founders in one of her feet. We've taken her to the vet. She's been on the hydraulic machines where they've tried to fix her foot. They've worked on it several times. It just keeps coming back. But she has such a will to live. Right now we have her separated. She's got her own little special, hospitality suite. But somehow, after this happened, this is when we gave her hospitality suite. Because she went in the pond like she always did, but she couldn't get out. She could not get out. She was in there all day. We couldn't get her out. So Tommy went in there, and we, with one of our animal caretakers, got her out of that pond. And I tell you, I was in tears watching my husband do this, because this very cow Muley was one of the ones that he used to exploit. He used to send her babies, to the sale barn, and here he is caring for her now. Our Ranchers Advocacy Program, how many of you have heard of what we're doing in RAP? Y'all, this is a natural evolution of who we are as former ranchers. I started talking to ranchers and their families because they started talking to me. I didn't create a marketing plan. I mean, the marketing plan was people that are ranchers and farmers of animals, they need somebody to talk to. Just like I needed to talk to Howard Lyman, they needed to talk to somebody. They need to talk to people that can tell them, I feel the same way, but I don't know what to do about it. And if they talk to a typical vegan, they're going to go, well, get out of the business. What are you doing? Most vegans are like, you don't need to do that. But we're like, I understand. And we listen, and we talk to them, and we let them cry. And so this is what's happening right now in our world, is we're really helping ranchers. And this is the family right here. This is the Barrett farm. And that's Jennifer and Rodney over there on the right. And that's Greg Lattis down there on the bottom left, and my husband, Tommy. Greg was in the documentary Cowspiracy. He is a scientist in Colorado State University, and he's on our global coalition of the Rancher Advocacy Program, as any of you can be. We have a crowdsourced team that is working with us to transform farms and ranches. The Barrett farm used to be a chicken farm. They were in bed with Tyson, okay? And they have 4 chicken sheds in Wicks, Arkansas. They processed 100,000 chickens every 52 days. Get your mind around that. Those sheds are empty now. The banks are calling. Foreclosure is looming on them. They've got the cows. They don't know what they're going to do. We went in, Briugi and I, who's in the back. I got a call from Sean Munson, who was doing a documentary out there, and he said, Renee, can you help these people? They don't have any hay. They're fixing to lose the farm, and we don't know how to help them. We don't know what to do. And so me and Ryuji drove 9 hours. I had just gotten back from the farm in Huntsville, where we had Honey and Ginger and the baby, and we took her somewhere. We actually went there, raised the money for the hay. We raised $12,000 in 24 hours for them to get hay. And then I went back and I solicited the people that we know, a foundation that works with us, and we got them $40,000 the following week. And now we are... Yeah, thank you. And now we are converting their farm to a mushroom farm. It's hard. It's a lot of work. It's scary. We need help. Please join our coalition. If you talk to me about it afterwards, and I'll be glad to tell you. There's some forms out there on the table where you can give me your name, your address, your phone, all that, so I can know you want to get involved. And here's some recommended documentaries. I did everything I could to get this done in 50 minutes. Did I talk fast? follow us on Rowdy Girl Sanctuary on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter is Rowdy Girl Ranch. We're on YouTube. And Two Rowdy Vegans, you know, we just appreciate y'all so much. Thank you, Hope.